Okay, so after you're comfortable with streams and some of the other features, we'll go into Classwork, which is where you'll be able to see, upload all of the class materials that you'll need for the course. Margie, in a minute, will show from the student's perspective what they end up seeing and how they can interact with the material. So you'll notice that in my Classwork tab, I've organized it by week. So on the left-hand side, you'll see weeks 1 through 9 with the sample topic thrown in there. Weeks 1 to 2, I've already populated with material. And if we flip over to week 1, you'll notice that I've uploaded some material, a question, 2 assignments, and then another question. Up at the very top, I've also uploaded a story analysis. So when you click on that, you'll notice how I've populated this tab. So I've asked the students to read the attached story and complete the analysis form. So here I've attached a math story, and I've also created a Google form, which is in response to the story that they'll have just gone through. So you'll notice that I've embedded a question, what's the purpose of the story? I've also embedded a math video and asked the students to make a connection to the reading. So then when they're finished that, they can submit, and that'll appear for you in your Google class to be reviewed. You'll also notice that right now it's not associated with one of the weeks. So that would be something that you might want to then, after you create the content, you could put it under week 1, and then it will appear as week 1 material. So in order to create new content, you'll notice that there's a plus sign, and when you click that button, it allows you to create assignments, quizzes, questions, and material. I'll go over reuse post in a minute. And then it also allows you to keep adding topics. So I've already added 9 topics in a sample topic, but just to show you, when you click this, we'll go sample topic number 2 and add. And on the left-hand side, you'll notice that the sample topic now appears at the very bottom. So if I wanted to create an assignment, I'll click on the assignment tab, and I can title this test assignment and insert the test instructions. That's where you would actually give any sort of instructional commentary. And then over on the right-hand side, you'll notice that it's for this course. It's for all students, though you could select certain students. Category, we're going to say this is, I believe it's assignment A that I've selected here. Due date, I'm going to make this due today, and time 11:59 p.m. The topic is going to fall under sample topic 2, which we just created, and then I'm going to add a rubric. So I could reuse one if I've already imported it, or I could import a rubric from Sheets, but I'm going to hit create rubric. And then this is where you can fill out your rubric. So the criterion title will say multimedia. I'm just going to say sample description, but here's where you would actually describe your criteria. We'll say it's 10 points. Level title would be A range, and then a description of the A range. I'm just going to put this for now. And then you can keep building out the rubric by adding criteria. So once you're finished, you can hit save, and then a rubric will be now associated with this assignment. And then once you're satisfied, you could also actually, add files. So files from your Google Drive, you can link a file, upload, you can embed video, and then you can also create content associated with this. So if you've got anything in your Google Drive that you'd like to attach, a doc, slide, sheet, drawing, or forms. So once you're happy with everything that's been attached to this assignment, you can hit assign. And now it should appear under our sample topic number 2, and here it is, test assignment. So we'll notice that nobody's turned it in yet because it was just assigned. It's been assigned to all 4 students who are in the class. There's a title, there's instructions, and there's a rubric associated. And then you could hit view assignment, and I can see my students, I can see their status, that they've been indicated or alerted that they've been assigned this. I'm just going to flip back. You can also create quizzes. So when you click on the quiz, we'll insert sample quiz, sample instructions. And then again, you can add any files that you want associated, but it automatically generates a Google form. And over on the right-hand side, this is a fun feature. You can select locked mode on Chromebooks, which just means that if students are accessing the quiz from a Chromebook, they won't be able to open new tabs or other apps while they're taking the quiz. So it kind of forces them on the one screen. Not necessarily ideal across the board because students will be accessing the quiz most likely from various types of hardware, not necessarily Chromebooks, but if you do know they're all in Chromebooks, this could be one feature that you might want to use. Then on the right-hand side, again, you can see that you'll stipulate who the quiz is for, grade category, we'll say it's the next assignment, due date, we'll say it's tomorrow, time, again, 11:59. And the topic will again put under sample topic number 2. I'm not going to associate a rubric with this so you can see the difference. And then I'm going to hit assign. And when we scroll down, you'll see the sample quiz. And again, it looks slightly different because there's no rubric assigned to this one. We'll head back up. And then the next is a question. So this one is pretty easy. I'm going to say, what is a highlight of the course so far? Please respond below. And I've indicated that I'd like some short answers, but you could also hit multiple choice if that's the type of question you're creating. Again, you can add anything you'd like associated. I'm going to attach a file just so you can see what my options are. I'm going to upload. This is a file. So I've selected it, and now I'm uploading the file, and then it will be associated with my question. So then I can add, please respond below after reading the attached document. Again, I can create any sort of content from my Google Drive and then stipulate due dates, etc. And now I'm going to not assign a due date and hit ask. So the question won't be included in the overall grade because I haven't assigned any grading. Do you still want to ask it? And I'm going to hit yes, ask. So this may be more of a voluntary check-in, and you'll notice that it appears at the top right here. So students can click on it and see the question, the document that was attached. Next, there's material. So this may be any sort of material that you want to share with students that isn't necessarily an assignment. It doesn't necessarily require a response. It's not a quiz. So I would generally use material as a way to share content, maybe slides with students, maybe readings that they can then access. And if you wanted them to actually submit something, you could attach a form so that they submit something after going through all the material through a Google form, or after you've uploaded any material that you'd like, you could have them then, you could create an assignment or some sort of quiz or question associated with that material after. And anything that you do create, again, you'll have to organize underneath each of the sections. So I'm going to put this under here. And then the very last is if you'd like to reuse a post, you can click that and you'll see all of the posts that you've previously created or uploaded. And you can select, I'm going to select the story material. I'd like to reuse this. And I'm going to now put this under week 3 and then hit post. And now when we scroll down to week 3, I've got my content there. So again, just a reminder, when you're creating content, unless there's some sort of required response, which is the case with the settings and assignments and the quizzes, and can be with question, with the material, there is no way to know that the students have gone through the material, seen it, unless you associate either a question after or some sort of other quiz or assignment after that would be in relation to the material. And then finally, just up at the top, you'll notice that you see the Meet, the Google Calendar, and the class drive. So depending on how the teacher set up the class, students may or may not see the Google Meet directly linked there, but they will see the Google Calendar. So when they click on that, again, it takes them to the same place that they were able to access it from the hamburger menu. And then the other is the class drive folder. And this is where students can upload, or this is where you as the teacher can see the assignment content that students have uploaded. So it organizes the assignment content into separate files. So I had opened up an assignment called This is an Assignment, and whatever students had submitted in relation to this gets immediately organized into its own folder here. And the same thing for the other 2 assignments.
We're now going to talk about the Google Classroom Student View and specifically Classwork tab. How to view classwork, how to submit classwork, how to see grades, and how things are organized and sorted and how in the student's view. So when I immediately log into the Google Classroom, I can see all of my classes that are listed here. On the left-hand side, I can see anything that is, or in this class, STEAM 3D, I can see that there is a quiz that has been assigned. So anything that is due immediately will automatically appear in this window here, right underneath the title of the class. So I can see in the other classes over here that there is no assignments that are immediately due. So that's a nice feature because it does allow you to recognize when things are coming up and that you need to prioritize those work to make sure that they're due on time or completed on time. To view this particular assignment, as soon as I hover over it, I can click on the link and view more details. So in this particular case, I can see when it's due. It's due on June 1st and the time. I see the title, and I can also see how many points it's worth right here on the slightly to the right. And then I can see that this is the critical thinking. So that means this is the type of marking or the type of marking that it would be put under. So it could be knowledge and understanding or participation, or in this case, critical thinking. It really depends on how the teacher has organized that or sorted it. I can see the teacher has assigned it on May 20th and made an edit at 3:49 p.m. So, and that was today. So that's important to recognize that although it was assigned earlier, it has been edited recently. I can see the instructions and I can see anything that is embedded. So in this case, it's a Google form. If I click on that, I can launch the quiz and then view that. I can see that any class comments, if that was listed, if there was anything commented on, it would appear here from the class. I could also add something myself, and any comments that I add here would be something that I'd want to say to the entire class. So teachers may ask that you have certain correspondences, and that would be something that you would put here when it's something to go to the entire class. You can see on the top right your work. The status is in green lettering here. It's assigned. Because it is a quiz, I'm able to add or create a document. So by clicking here, I can add things from my Google Drive, I can add links to different websites, I can add files, and I could also create anything new with using the Google Suite. Once I have added or completed the work, I can mark it as done, and it would change the status. There's also private comments that I could submit to the teacher. So if I needed more clarification, I could write the details of what clarification I required, and then I could send this, click the arrow there, and it would go directly to my teacher so that they could provide more details for me. So I'm going to take a look now more deeply into the classwork within the class. So I'm going to go down to the bottom option here. There's various different ways you can get back to your class. The one I like to do is I look here and see what I'm enrolled in, and then I go into the STEAM 3D. So then I go to the tab at and I go in the middle for classwork. So again, I have view your work. I can click on that. That is available on the main page of your Google Class as well. And this shows all the work that you have. It shows the title, when it's due, and categories. If you click on it, it expands any of the options, and I can view more about each one. Additionally, I can see on the left-hand side, there's filters, different ways to sort the classwork that's due. So the first one is those that have been assigned. So anything that has been assigned to myself or to all the class. And teachers can assign work to individual students or to an entire class or to a group of students. So there is those different options. You can see here, I could also filter it by those that have been returned or returned with a grade. So the first that I have here is something that was returned to me. It was a question, and it was returned because there was a private comment made by the teacher. So you may want to view that. The other is returned with a grade. So this is an assignment, and I can see that my grade is here. If I wanted to see more details, I could view here to look to see what more details are, especially if there was rubrics, etc., to see how I did. So going back again, I could then also filter by anything that's missing. So if there was an assignment that I did submit something, but there was part of it that was missing and the teacher responded back to me, that would appear in this part here. So going back again, and I want to click, I'm just using the arrow back, but there's various different ways you can get back into your classwork. I can see here also my Google Calendar at the top, so I can see how things are organized, or they would appear in my calendar if they are due. That really helps students to prioritize their work and to manage and chunk out their work so they could see, oh, I have something due on Monday. I have 3 days from now to work on it. I should now maybe work a little bit on Thursday and Friday to make sure that it gets done on time. So that's a nice feature to help students stay organized. There's also the class drive here as well. You can click on that. In this particular class, my teacher has decided to use the topics in a certain way to organize the material. They chose to do it by week. So it's week 1, week 2, week 3, all the way down. Now, when Laura was talking, she showed there was many more topics, but I only see the ones where work has actually been added to it. So if no work has been added to it, it will not appear. So I didn't see week 4, 5, or 6. So just scrolling through, you'll notice that if I look at week 1, I have all grayed out options. So basically that means that I have looked at these already, and in some cases I've actually submitted things. So for example, I have the icons, this icon right here that looks like it's got a bookmark in a rectangle. That is material. And in this case, this could be something that the teacher is asking us to review, or it could just be supplementary material that is our own option to view. It really does depend on each teacher. In this particular case, the way the teacher would want us to do it is each week they will have some material for students to use and to view before they work on some of their assignments. So you want to make sure that you take a look at this. Even though there's no due date, you should make sure that there's something that you go through. And that'll be something that each student will have to understand how each teacher organizes material and how they use that. One thing to recognize is that even though I have open story analysis, there's all these different attachments. And if there's anything that still needs to be done in here, it may not be clear because I have it grayed out in the option in my classwork. So just something to recognize that even though something has been grayed out as an icon here, it doesn't necessarily mean that the material has been completed or the work. I can see that I had an assignment, it has been submitted and graded, so all of that details here as well. So I'm just going to complete one last thing, which is I do have an assignment here, week 2 assignment, so I'm going to click on that. To view more details, I can look here at, oh, it's due on June 11th, it's been assigned, I can see there's a rubric and some attachments. If I view the assignment, it gets even more in detail here. I can see more details about the rubric, any class comments, and I can open up any attachments that are made here. And it says I need to leave a comment. So in this particular case, I would need to go inside the Google Doc and leave a comment, etc. When I am ready to submit, I would go in the right-hand side. So because this is an assignment, I can add or create. If this was a question, I wouldn't have the add or create option. So in this case, I'm going to add something. So I'm going to add a video, let's say. So I just want to show the different options that you can do. So I do have a video here. I'm going to add that from my Google Drive. In some cases, you may get an error. So I think it's just important to recognize that could have something to do with the rights. Or you may just need to log out and log back or close it and go back into the assignment. For the time being, I'll just add in a doc. And as it waits to go in here, it's now been copied, added in, but it is still assigned. If I do need to turn it in, I'm ready to turn it in, I need to click this blue button. Once I hit the blue option again here, then I truly know that this has been submitted and turned in, and the status has changed to turned in. So very important to recognize, because if you haven't hit that, it is not turned in. Going back at any time, I can go back into my classwork and now see that the status is grayed out and the status has been changed to turned in. And that is a quick overview of the classwork from the student's viewpoint. And it's important to recognize how things are organized, so making sure that you understand how topics are done, as well as the grayed out option is an important feature here as well.